He wasn't supposed to be there. Dante Cade didn't attend weddings he hadn't been invited to. He attended everything else: boardrooms, charity galas, government meetings in 3 countries. But weddings were personal. He've always kept a clean line between personal and professional. Tonight, the line dissolved, because the wedding was supposed to be different. The wedding was supposed to be between Liam Park, his youngest business associate, 29, reliable until he wasn't, and the eldest Park daughter. A merger sealed with a marriage, clean, professional, 2 families consolidating. Except Liam had called 3 weeks ago from somewhere that had a different time zone and said, "I can't. I'm sorry. I can't explain it right now," and disappeared. So the Park family had improvised. The youngest daughter had stepped in. Mia Park, 26th, not part of any arrangement. Not prepared for this. Wearing a dress made for her sister's measurements and holding flowers someone else had chosen. And in the middle of all of it, she looked up at the skylight, like she was checking if the sky was still there. Like that was the most important thing in the room. Dante stood at the back and felt something move in his chest, like a door opening in a wall he hadn't known was there. He left before the reception, sat in his car for a long time, made one call, find out everything about Mia Park, not the family file, her specifically. Then sat in the dark and thought about a woman who checked if the sky was still there during her own arranged wedding, and felt, for the first time in 4 years, like something in the world was worth paying attention to. Mia had a system for surviving things she hadn't chosen. Notice 3 true things. Her therapist had taught her that years ago, for different reasons. Today's 3. 1. The dress fits surprisingly well, despite not being hers. 2. Jin Ho, her husband, as of 40 minutes ago, had held her hand during the ceremony like someone handling borrowed china, carefully, with the specific tenderness of someone who knew something was fragile. 3. The skylight above the ballroom was showing her exactly the right blue. The October blue. The kind that looked painted. She'd focused on that, said her vows, signed her name, become someone's wife. The arrangement was clean on paper. 3 years, joint appearances, quarterly family dinners, then dissolution, financial settlement, both free. Jin Ho had been honest from the first conversation. "I won't pretend. I'll be present when needed. I'll stay out of your life otherwise." Same, she'd said. She'd meant it. She'd married because her mother had been crying for 3 weeks, because her father had started looking small in his chair, because Liam's disappearance had left a hole in something structural and someone needed to fill it. She'd filled it. Now she just had to survive.
6 weeks later, a letter from building management. Ashford Properties acquired by Donovan Holdings, effective immediately. Existing tenancy protected. No disruption too. She didn't finish reading, filed it, forgot about it, for 3 days. Then pulled it back out. Donovan Holdings. She Googled it, then sat very still. She didn't panic. She made tea, stood at her window with the tea going cold, and thought someone worth $6 billion just bought a mid-range residential building in Mapoji for investment purposes. She repeated that to herself 3 times, then stopped repeating it, because she'd been a journalist long enough to know when a story didn't add up. She found him in her hallway on a Tuesday evening. Dark coat, the specific stillness of someone who had already decided something. He turned when the elevator opened, looked at her with the specific attention of someone who already knew her face. "Mrs. Essio," he said. "I don't know you." "No, not yet." He extended his hand. Dante Cade. She looked at the hand. Didn't take it. You bought this building? Yes. Why? A pause. 1 second too long. You were at my wedding, she said. Not a question. His expression didn't change, but something in it settled. Like a card being placed on a table. Yes. I didn't see you. I was at the back. Why? I came for the original ceremony. I have business history with the Park family. And you stayed? Yes. Why? He looked at her. Because you looked at the sky. The hallway was very quiet. Come inside, she said, her voice completely flat. I'm going to ask you everything and you're going to answer it. She made tea she didn't drink. He sat at her kitchen table and answered everything, without flinching, without justification. When she was done asking, 20 minutes, systematic, every angle, she looked at her untouched cup. Get out, she said. Yes. He stood, walked to the door. Mia. First time he'd used her name. She didn't respond. I won't contact you, he said. I'll manage the building through the super. You won't see me unless you want to. I won't want to. Okay. He left. She sat alone, with the tea, and the specific weight of being truly seen by someone who had absolutely no right to see her. She picked up her pen at 11 p.m. Not her phone, her pen, and started writing. Not a diary entry, not a text. A story about a man who watched a woman look at the sky and decided that meant something. About the specific violence of being noticed by someone who notices accurately. She wrote for 3 hours, saved it, read it back, and thought, this is the truest thing I've written in 2 years. She published it 6 weeks later. Not immediately. She sat with it, rewrote it 4 times, made it less angry, then more, then found the version that was just accurate. She didn't name him, didn't name the building, but she described the feeling, the specific texture of being observed without permission by someone who observed correctly, the difference between surveillance and being seen. How sometimes those things started as one and quietly became the other. Her editor called within an hour of submission. Mia, this is different. I know. This is the best thing you've submitted in 3 years. I know. Are you sure? Yes. Published Thursday morning. 40,000 shares by Friday night. Saturday morning her phone rang. Unknown number. She answered. I read it, Dante said. I know. You didn't name me. It wasn't about you. It was about what you made me feel. Those are different things. A pause. Are you going to be okay? He said. She blinked. What? The piece. There's a lot of you in it. More than I think people realize. His voice was quiet. I just wanted to know if you're okay. She stood at her kitchen window, the city below doing its Saturday things. Don't call me again, she said. Okay. I mean it. I know, okay. He hung up. She put her phone face down and stood there for a long time, trying to be angry at someone who had just asked if she was okay. The problem with furious she was learning was that it needed a target that stayed still. And Dante Cade kept doing the wrong things in the right way, kept handing her reasons to be furious while simultaneously removing her reasons to stay furious, which was its own kind of violation. The most inconvenient kind. 10 days after publication, a rival publication ran a piece. Who inspired Soul's most shared essay? The billionaire behind the building. Someone had done the math. The timing of the acquisition, the specific details in her essay. Donovan Holdings, Dante Cade. Her phone didn't stop. Press requests, interview invitations, 3 separate journalists asking for comment. She gave none, but she couldn't stop the story. By Monday, it was on entertainment sites. Billionaire buys building to watch arranged marriage bride. Her name, his name, her building. All of it. Jin Ho called. Are you all right? Careful, genuinely concerned. I'm fine. I'm sorry about the... Don't apologize. Are you safe? Yes. Do you need anything? No. She paused. Thank you. He hung up. She sat in the middle of her apartment, her phone lighting up every 40 seconds, her name attached to a story she hadn't written about herself. Her building, which she'd thought of as hers, suddenly public. Suddenly a detail in someone else's narrative about a billionaire's obsession. She called Priya. "I need to stay with you a few nights." "Of course. Right now. Tomorrow. I need to pack some things. Mia, I just need to not be in this building for a while." She packed a bag, stood at the door, looked back at her apartment, at the window she stood at every morning, at the city she could see from it, at the sky that was still there, still the right blue. She left. She didn't text him, didn't tell him she was leaving. He found out because the super mentioned the apartment was empty. He stood in his office and looked at the building across the city, her building, and her dark window, and felt the specific consequence of his own action. She was gone from the space he'd arranged around her, and he had no one to blame for that except himself. 3 weeks later, Priya had convinced her to attend the Mirai Foundation charity gala. Press access. Good story opportunity. Mia almost didn't go. She went. The venue was, of course, a Donovan Holdings building, one of his flagship properties, glass and light, and the specific beauty of a space that had been designed by someone who understood aesthetics as power. She knew he'd be there. Told herself it didn't matter. She was covering the event. She was press. She saw him across the room at 9:17 p.m. He was talking to 3 people she didn't recognize, listening. She noticed he always listened more than he spoke. With that complete attention, he gave everything. He hadn't seen her yet. She turned back to her notes. A hand appeared at her elbow. Light. Brief. Mia. She turned. He was there. Up close. No hallway distance. No kitchen table between them. Dark suit. Looking at her with the expression she'd been trying to write accurately for 3 weeks. "You moved out," he said. Quietly. Not an accusation. "Yes. Are you coming back?" "I don't know." He nodded. Didn't push. "You look." He stopped. "What?" "Tired." He said it without softening it. Not tired like sleep. Tired like the last month has cost something. She looked at him. "It has." "I'm sorry." His voice was low. "The exposure piece. I didn't. I had nothing to do with that story." "I know." "Do you?" "Yes." "It wasn't your style." She looked at her notebook. "Your style is buying buildings and telling the truth about it to someone's face." Something moved at the corner of his mouth. Almost. "Is that better or worse?" "I haven't decided." They stood in the middle of a charity gala. People around them doing the gala things. Champagne. Important conversations. Neither of them moved toward those things. "Can I get you something?" he said. "Water. Whatever you want." "I'm working." "I know." He didn't move away. He stopped. "What?" "I wanted to be near you for a moment before you tell me to go away." She looked at him, at this impossible, honest, frustrating man. "I'm not going to tell you to go away," she said. "No?" "No." She looked back at the room. "But I'm going to keep pretending I'm taking notes for the next 10 minutes. And you're going to stand here and not say anything meaningful." He was quiet. "Okay," he said. They stood there. 10 minutes. Him beside her pretending to take notes. The gala doing its gala things around them, his arm not quite touching hers, the warmth of him close enough to feel. When she finally looked up, her notebook had 3 lines of actual notes and 7 lines of her own handwriting that just said, "He's standing next to me. He's standing next to me. He's standing next to me." She closed it.
I should move around the room, she said. Yes, this was, I know. He looked at her. Thank you for the 10 minutes. She walked away, felt him watching her go, didn't look back. Wanted to. She wrote the gala piece that night at Priya's kitchen table. It was the best event coverage she'd filed in a year. Priya read it over her shoulder and said, "Why does this piece about a charity event feel like a love story?" Mia deleted 2 paragraphs. Priya read the rest. Still feels like a love story, Priya said. Mia closed her laptop. She moved back to her apartment after a month. She'd decided, on her terms, things were not normal, but functional. She stopped expecting drama and started expecting silence. He was silent until he wasn't. 2 months after moving back, Mia's phone rang. Her editor, excited. The Donovan Holdings profile. They've agreed to access, full access, company history, current projects. The CEO. Mia went still. Who agreed to this? It came through their PR team this morning. Apparently they specifically requested you. By name. She put the phone down, picked it up, texted him. Did you give me a story? 3 minutes. I gave you access to information that's genuinely newsworthy. Your name was suggested because you're the most accurate journalist covering this sector. Did you give me a story? A longer pause. Yes. She put her phone face down, sat with it. He'd done it again. Not maliciously, not obviously, but he'd moved something in her professional world without asking. Arranged an opportunity she hadn't sought. Used what he had to what? Help her? Or to create proximity again? She picked up her phone, called him. He answered immediately. Don't, she said. Don't explain it. Don't tell me it was for my benefit. Okay. I worked for 10 years to build a reputation. That has nothing to do with who I know or what buildings I live in. I earned every commission, every access, every story. I know. And you just made one of those things questionable. I can't take that profile now. I can't take it and not wonder. And now there's a story I'm not going to write that might have been genuinely important, and I can't touch it because you... Her voice broke slightly. Because you can't stop. Silence. You're right, he said. I know I'm right. I'm sorry. Genuinely. I told myself it was just opening a door, that you could walk through it or not. He paused. That's not what it was. What was it? A long pause. An excuse, he said quietly, to be relevant to your life, which I have no right to engineer. She exhaled. Dante. Yes, you have to stop. I know. Not because She stopped. She hung up. Sat in her apartment. In the quiet. In the building he owned. In the specific, complicated silence of being furious at someone she was. She didn't finish the thought. She didn't write the profile. Emailed her editor and said it wasn't the right fit. Didn't explain. Then sat at her desk for an hour not writing anything. Then wrote something she didn't intend to submit anywhere about the difference between a man who controlled things and a man who couldn't. Stop himself from caring about how those two things could live in the same person. About how knowing that didn't make it easier. Her brother, Jiho, found out on a Thursday. Not from her, from the second publication. The one that had connected the dots. He called at 7 a.m. Who is Dante Cade? Not a question. Jiho. He owns your building. He was at your wedding uninvited. He bought your building because of you specifically. His voice was not loud, controlled in the way of someone being very careful. Mia. Who is he? It's complicated. Are you safe? Yes. Are you sure? Yes, Jiho. I'm sure. I'm coming over. You don't have to. I'm already in the car. He sat at her kitchen table with the specific energy of an older brother who had decided to be reasonable and was finding it difficult. Talk to me. She told him. Most of it. The hallway. The kitchen. The essay. The gala. She didn't tell him about the 10 minutes standing next to each other without speaking. Didn't tell him about the almost at the corner of his mouth. Jiho listened carefully, his hands flat on the table. He bought your building to be near you, he said. Yes. Without asking. Yes. And then told you about it. Yes. And you. He looked at her. Mia, what are you doing? I don't know. That's not an answer. I know it's not. She looked at her hands. Jiho, I married a stranger 3 months ago to save our family. I looked at the sky during my own wedding ceremony to stay sane, and then a man I'd never met watched me do that and felt something about it and did something indefensible and honest simultaneously, and She stopped. You what? Jiho said, quietly now. I don't know what to do with someone who does the wrong things for real reasons. She looked at him. I've spent my entire career writing about people who do wrong things for strategic reasons. I know what that looks like. This doesn't look like that. That doesn't make it okay. I know. Mia. I know, Jiho. He sat back, looked at the ceiling. I want to meet him. Absolutely not. I want to look at him. Jiho, you're living in his building. You've had him in this kitchen. You stood next to him at a gala for 10 minutes, yes. I read Priya's version of events. She tells me everything, and you're writing about him without submitting it anywhere. He looked at her. I want to meet the man my sister is not falling for while insisting. She's furious. Mia put her face in her hands. This is a disaster, she said. Yes, Jiho said. But it's an interesting disaster. Tell me when you're ready. She didn't arrange the meeting immediately, but she texted Dante that evening. Not about the meeting, just, my brother knows. His reply after 8 minutes. Is he angry? Her, controlled angry. Worse. His. Do you need me to do anything? Her? No. Just don't do anything. For once, just don't do anything. His. Okay. Then after a minute, is that the first time you've asked me for something? She read that 3 times, put her phone down, picked it up, typed, yes, sent it before she thought about it. She didn't plan it carefully. Told Dante, coffee, Saturday, her choice of place. Her brother would be there. He said yes without conditions. They sat at a table for 3. Mia, Jiho, Dante across from them. Jiho looked at him for a long moment. Dante looked back. Didn't perform composure, just was composed. You bought my sister's building, Jiho said. Yes, because you watched her at her wedding. Yes. That's... Jiho paused. Most men would have just tried to run into her somewhere. I don't do things halfway, so I've heard. Jiho wrapped his hands around his cup. What do you want from her? Jiho, Mia started. Let him answer. Dante looked at Mia, then at Jiho. I want to know her, he said. Not the family arrangement, not the journalist. Her. What she thinks about when she's not performing being fine. Jiho looked at him. And if she decides she doesn't want to be known by you, then I sell the building to whoever she chooses. Move to Singapore for the quarterly project. She never has to see me again. You do that. Yes, just like that. She's not an acquisition, Dante said, quietly. I treated her like one once. I'm trying not to do that again. Jiho was quiet for a long moment. looked at Mia. She was looking at the table, the specific look she'd had since she was 7 years old, when she was trying very hard not to show something. Jiho recognized it. He looked back at Dante. "If you hurt her," he said. "I already have," Dante said. "Twice. I'm aware of the pattern. I'm trying to change it. Try harder." "Yes." Jiho picked up his coffee, stood. "I have somewhere to be." He looked at Mia. "Walk me out." She walked him to the cafe door. He stopped, turned. "He's not what I expected," he said quietly. "No. Jiho searched for it. He's honest in a way that's almost worse than lying." "I know. Because you can't argue with it." "I know." Jiho looked at her face. "Mia, what do you want?" She looked back at the cafe window, at Dante inside, who was looking at his coffee and not at them, giving them the privacy. "I don't know yet," she said. "Yes, you do." Jiho kissed her forehead. "You've known for a while. You're just waiting to be sure it's your choice." He left. She stood on the pavement, looked up at the sky. October still that blue. Went back inside, sat across from Dante. He looked up. "That went," she started. "Better than I expected," he said. "He likes you. He'd never admit it, but he does." "How do you know?" "He didn't tell you to stay away from me." She looked at her cup. "He always tells people to stay away from me. He's been doing it since we were children." Dante was quiet. Then, "Are you going to tell me to stay away from you?" She looked at him, his face in the cafe light, completely unguarded, waiting. "No," she said. He exhaled, something releasing. "Mia, don't say anything yet." She held up her hand. I'm still married, contractually, but still. And I'm still." She stopped. "I need you to just be patient for a little longer. I've been patient for—" "I know." She looked at him. "I know. A little longer." His jaw tightened, not in anger, in the specific effort of someone choosing the right thing over the easy one. "Okay," he said. She reached across the table, touched his hand, brief, warm, real. He turned his hand over, let their fingers rest together for one moment. She pulled back. "Coffee?" she said. "Please," he said. They sat in that cafe for 2 hours, not talking about anything important, about a documentary she'd watched, about a building he was designing in Busan, about small, ordinary things. And it was the most normal thing either of them had experienced in months. And normal, she was learning, was the rarest form of intimacy, the one that cost the most to get to. She called him at 1 a.m. on a Wednesday. Hadn't planned it. He answered on the first ring. "Can't sleep," she said. "No." His voice was rough, sleep adjacent but present. "You?" "No." She was on her couch, lights off, the city through her window doing its quiet middle-of-the-night things. "I want to ask you something." "Okay." "The building, the career thing, all of it." She pressed her hand over her eyes. "If I asked you to explain it, not justify, just explain the feeling that preceded every wrong decision, can you do that?" He was quiet. Then, fear. Of what? Of watching something real disappear before I could. He stopped. "I've built things my whole life, things I could control, and then I saw you look at the sky, and I felt something I couldn't control, and His voice was low. "I defaulted to what I knew. I tried to build a situation instead of just being in one. And when you interfered with my career, same. I saw a door, and instead of waiting for you to find it, He exhaled. "I tried to open it, because if I was useful to you, I had a reason to be relevant. And if I had a reason to be relevant, I could what? could be near you without it being just wanting to be near you. She lay in the dark. Dante, yes. Do you know what the most frightening thing about you is? Tell me. You're wrong in the most understandable way. She looked at the ceiling. I understand every wrong thing you've done. I can follow the logic. I can see the fear underneath it. And it would be so much easier if I couldn't. Why? Because then I could just be angry. And instead I'm lying on my couch at 1 a.m. calling you. She paused, which tells you something. What does it tell me? She was quiet for a moment. That I'm not. That I don't want you to disappear, even when you make things hard, even when you get it wrong. I don't want you to. She stopped. Mia, yes. I'm not going to disappear. His voice was very low. I'll be here, however long, whatever form that takes. I'll be here. That's a very large promise. I don't make small ones. She smiled. In the dark. Alone. Nobody to see it. I know, she said. They stayed on the phone, not talking, just present. Two people in the same city at 1 a.m. Not being alone. At some point she said, I'm going to try to sleep. Yes. Dante. The dissolution papers. They're scheduled for 6 months from now. I know. I'm not asking you to wait. I know you're not asking. His voice was quiet. I'm not waiting because you asked. I'm waiting because there's nothing else I want to do. She closed her eyes. Good night. Good night, Mia. She fell asleep with her phone still warm in her hand. She woke up at 6 a.m., her phone battery at 3%. She'd fallen asleep on the call. She checked. The call had ended at 4:37 a.m. He'd stayed on the line for 3.5 hours, not talking, just there. She sat with that for a long time, then plugged in her phone, stood at her window, looked at the sky, and thought, I'm in trouble. The real kind. The kind that feels like coming home. The dissolution papers came through on a Thursday. Clean, mutual, exactly as agreed. Jinho's message. I wish you well. Genuinely. Hers. You too. And thank you for how you handled everything. You made it easy, he replied. Take care of yourself. She sat with the papers for an hour, thought about her life before 6 months ago, before the wedding she hadn't planned, before the building letter, before a hallway on a Tuesday evening, before someone looked at her looking at the sky and felt something about it. She picked up her phone. It's done. His reply took 5 minutes. I know. I've been sitting here. How long? Since this morning, when the court timestamp would have cleared. She read that twice. Come over. Now? Yes. Now. Don't plan anything. Just come. He knocked 19 minutes later. No coat. Like he'd left without thinking. She opened the door. He looked at her. Complete attention. No composure performing anything. Just him standing at her door. After 6 months of right things imperfectly done. Hi, she said. Hi. She stepped back. He came in, stood in her kitchen, where he'd sat with the tea 9 months ago, where everything had started with her telling him to get out. You stayed on the phone for 3.5 hours, she said. You fell asleep. You could have hung up. I know. Why didn't you? He looked at her. Because you called me at 1 a.m. when you couldn't sleep, and I'd rather be the silence you sleep to than not be there at all. She crossed to him, stopped close. I've been writing about you, she said, for 9 months, in documents I don't submit anywhere. I know. How do you know? Because you think in writing, and you've been thinking about this for 9 months. So you've been writing about it. She looked at his face, at the man who had done something indefensible and told her about it, who had bought her building, who had interfered with her career and admitted it was fear. not generosity, who had stayed on a phone call for 3.5 hours in the dark, who had met her brother and answered every question without performing anything, who had waited. Dante, yes, I'm going to say something, and I need you to not make it into something larger than it is yet. Okay, She stopped, tried again. I think I stopped again, exhaled. Why is this so? Because it matters, he said quietly. Things that matter are hard to say. She looked at him. I think I've been yours for a while, she said, without deciding to be. And I'm deciding now. That's all. I'm just deciding. He was very still. Mia. Yes. Can I? He lifted his hand, slowly, his fingers at her jaw. Warm, careful, like something he'd wanted for 9 months and was making himself slow down for. Can I? Yes, she said. He kissed her, not the way she'd expected, soft first, like a question he already knew the answer to but wanted to ask properly. Then her hands found his shirt and pulled slightly, and it changed, became something neither of them was performing. His hand in her hair, her forehead against his afterward, both of them just breathing. That was, she started. Yes, he said. It was. 9 months. 9 months. His hand was still in her hair. Was it worth the wait? She pulled back to look at him, at his face, at the expression she'd been cataloguing for 9 months in documents. She didn't submit. Don't be smug about it, she said. He almost smiled. That almost. That rare almost she'd been watching for. I'm not being smug, he said. I'm being, he searched for it. What? Grateful, he said. Just grateful. She looked at him and kissed him again. Because she wanted to. Because she decided. Because for the first time in a year, something was entirely hers. They sat on her couch after. The city outside. Her window. Her building. His building. Their building. She'd stopped knowing how to categorize it months ago. His arm around her. Her head on his shoulder. The specific ordinary of 2 people who had taken the long road and arrived. And she thought, I looked at the sky at my own wedding to remember the world was larger than the room, and a stranger watched me do it. And here we are, 9 months of wrong things done honestly, and right things done imperfectly. And this is the realest thing in my life right now, which is either the beginning of something or everything. She hadn't decided yet, but she was leaning toward everything. 7:45 a.m. Her kitchen, her window. She stood with her coffee. Corner store, brick pack, exactly as always, and looked at the city. Heard him behind her. Felt him before she heard him. The specific warmth of someone close. His chin on her shoulder, looking at the same city. You always stand here, he said. It's the best light. At 7:45. You've been watching my schedule for a year. Don't pretend to be surprised. She felt him smile against her shoulder. Look up, he said quietly. She looked up. The sky. October still. That blue. Still there. Always there. She leaned back slightly. Into him. His arms came around her, both of them looking up. I want to write something, she said. About all of this. Start to finish. I know. Everything. The building. The essay. All of it. I know. His voice was warm. Write it. You don't want to read it first? No. Why not? Because you'll tell the truth about me. And I've decided I'd rather have the truth than the version where I look better. She turned her head slightly, kissed his jaw. Brief. Real. Unplanned. Felt him go still the way he always did when she touched him unexpectedly. Like it still surprised him. Like he hadn't built up tolerance. She didn't think he ever would. She didn't mind. Dante. I'm going to look at the sky every morning for the rest of my life. I know. And you're going to... what? Watch? No. His arms tightened slightly. I'm going to look with you. A pause. There's a difference. She smiled, looked at the sky. Bright. Cold. Worth seeing. Like always. Both of them looking up.